congregation. We invite you to join us for fellowship after the service in the social hall. If you join us, we hope you will use one of our brand new red coffee mugs, which are for newcomers to our congregation. A reminder to everyone in the sanctuary, please keep your high quality mask in place covering both your nose and your mouth at all times while you're in the sanctuary and other parts of the building. If you need a sip of water or a breath of fresh air, please step outside the building and come back and join us. This act of kindness to your fellow congregants will help to keep everyone as safe as possible as we continue to navigate life during the ongoing pandemic. We also have seating in the social hall where you can participate in worship by watching a live stream video on a large screen. The social hall is particularly welcoming to families with young children with a play space, and supervised play is also available on the playground during worship for children of all ages. Please do what you need to do this morning to feel comfortable as we all do our best to care for one another and keep each other as healthy and safe as possible. Many thanks to all the folks helping us share worship both here and online, our on-site greeters, ushers, and hospitality and logistics team, and a special thanks to our AV Tech team, Sean Scally, Celia DeVoe, and Rachel Buckland, supporting the dual platform worship both online and in the Rugby Road Sanctuary. Thank you to Kelsey Cowger for serving as our song leader this morning, and John Mayhood, our pianist. And I'm happy to be joined in worship, in sharing this worship with Reverend Leah. Here to greet you from your Board of Trustees is Brett Gastinger.
Good. Ooh, hot mic. Good morning, everybody. I just want to take a moment to welcome you all on behalf of the Board of Trustees. It's so good to see so many faces in the sanctuary this morning, and I know that this many, plus this many more, are joining us online. It's great to see so much enthusiasm. I am happy to report that our board had a very meaningful and productive retreat yesterday, and it was meaningful because we really had the chance to get to know one another, to build the groundwork for working together over the next year. And it was productive because we really worked through some of our goals. We reviewed some of the developmental goals that has brought Reverend Tim to us and that will guide his work, but it also reminded us of the work that the board can do to further this place as we can, setting vision and also establishing concrete steps towards proceeding along that path. And I have to say, we had a lot of fun. You might not think a board retreat could be fun, but we laughed a lot. We sang together. We sang and laughed simultaneously. And we made a lot of great progress. So we are so excited for the work ahead of us. I think we all feel that there is wind in our sails. We see new faces in our pews. We are really buoyed by the successes that we've had recently in stewardship and with our budget. And we have a lot of important work to do. And we have just a lot of great strengths to draw upon. So welcome. Enjoy the worship this morning.
Thank you so much, Breck. Here are several important announcements. Our all-church swim party, the UU SIVO Summer Splash, happens this afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. at Fairview Swim Club. All are invited. Come and swim or just come and spend a lovely afternoon with friends, new and old. Our annual ritual of water communion will be held during community worship on Sunday, September 11th. Please remember to collect and bring with you to church a small sample of water on that day. We encourage those who plan to join us over Zoom to have their special water with them and to participate in the sanctuary of their home. Donations are needed for the upcoming fall auction party, which will be held on Saturday, September 17th. We need donations of dinners, specialty foods, jewelry, art, stays at vacation homes, and more. Go to the UU SIVO website or the Friday newsletter to learn more and to fill out the donation form. Reverend Tim will be donating a sermon topic, so get your bids ready. Today is the final Sunday to contribute to this month's social action collection for the RISE Foundation. Visit the church website to learn more about RISE and to donate. Let us now center ourselves for worship.
These words from the Reverend Gretchen Haley. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? In these days, we find ourselves too often stuck with these questions on repeat. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? We grasp at signs and markers and articles of news and analysis, Facebook memes and forwarded emails as if the new zodiac, capable of forecasting all that life may yet bring our way. As if we could prepare, as if life had ever made any promises of making sense or turning out the way we'd thought. As if we are not also actors in this still unfolding story. For this hour, we gather to surrender to the mystery, to release ourselves from the needing to know, the yearning to have it already all figured out, and also the burden of believing we either have all the control or none. Here in our song and in our silence and in our stories and in our sharing, we make space for a new breath, a new healing, a new possibility to take root. That is courage, forged in the fire of our coming together and felt in the spirit that comes alive in this act of faith, that we believe still a new world is possible, that we are creating it already, here and now. Come, let us worship together. I invite our song leader this morning, Kelsey Cowger, to please come forward to lead us in our opening hymn, number 398, Gathered Here. Many of us know the words to this hymn by heart, and they will also be projected for us. So I invite you now to keep your mask on, but please rise in body or spirit, and we will sing our opening hymn through 3 times.
And I will just say, John and I have hatched a plan for how to do this in the sanctuary. This is a beautiful hymn, and it really presents well as a round. So John's going to play it through once. We're all going to sing it together. And then this side of the sanctuary, you are number 2. This side of the sanctuary, you are number 3. I will point to you when it's your turn to start the round. It's also marked in the hymnal. And those of you at home, I'm going to make you number 4. So I'll point to the screen when it's your turn to jump in at home. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour,
I now invite Lois Wagner to come forward and light our chalice. Before we speak our unison words, I offer these words. Offer these words by Cooper Garrett. O divine love, with the kindling of this flame, may we realize and love our true selves, our true round belly selves, our true bags under our eyes selves, our, oh my goodness, our true naturally hairy selves, our true wrinkles on our skin selves. May our self-love help keep our chalice ablaze. Rachel, can you put the words of the unison chalice lighting up, please? And Lois, you can go ahead and, it went out. All right. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Now, if we can do hand motions, we light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalist. The church, our mind, the church, our hand, the church. Thank you so much, Lois.
Good morning, everyone. We are embodying grace this morning. Feels good, doesn't it? Yeah. You make space for all those things that happened, like the chalice running out of oil and only having one person in the tech booth this morning. Yay, Rachel. Yes, we embody grace. We offer it to ourselves and to each other. So in a minute, we're going to hear from an amazing artist and musician, one who has graced us a lot with her presence during COVID, and that is Leia Morris. And she's going to teach us a body prayer that you're invited to sing and move with and to let yourself embody. Leia is going to introduce herself in this video, and following the prayer, she has some additional information that I asked Rachel to keep in the video because it's important for you to hear. The prayer that we're going to be singing is based on a Sufi dhikr, and the dhikr is a form of devotion that means remembrance, remembering your divine source and letting yourself get lost in the rhythm. So Kelsey is going to help us sing and move along with Leia Morris, and I invite you now to rise as you are willing and able in body and spirit, and to let yourself embody this body prayer.
My name is Leia Morris, and I'm so glad that you've joined me at this channel, where my intention is to share music and messages that are meaningful to me and hopefully give us greater opportunity to connect. So in this song, I'm going to invite you to sing along. It's a simple chant, the words by Rumi and the melody by Elisa S. Keeler. And it comes with an invitation to engage your entire body in the singing with mudras. Light surrounds me, light above me, light within me, shining through me. So if you have the space and you're so inclined, why not get your entire body involved in singing this song? Light surrounds me, light above me, light within me, shining through me. Light surrounds me, light above me, light within me, shining through me. Light surrounds me, light above me, light within me, shining through me. One more time. Light surrounds me, light above me, light within me, shining through me. Light surrounds me, light above, light within, shining through me. Light surrounds, light above, light within, shining through me. Light above, light within, moving through me. Light above, light within, moving through me. Light surrounds, light above, light within, shining through me. Light surrounds, light above, light within, light surrounds. Light surrounds me, light above me, light within me, moving through me. And I should add, if you haven't heard my chant, Honor the Dark, this chant inspired Honor the Dark. And so they are two parts of one message, of one coin, of one offering. Light in all we do, honoring the dark in all we do and experience. If you haven't heard that song before, I'll put a link in the chat below and link to Elisa's original recording of this song as well. I hope you enjoy this and have an opportunity to share it. I'll see you again soon.
Thank you to Leah Morris, and thank you to Kelsey for being our song leader this morning. Please join me now in prayer and meditation and centering. Notice yourself in your body, in whatever space you are in, here in our sanctuary, in your own home, wherever you may be. Let yourself be aware. If you feel comfortable doing so, close your eyes and feel your breath as it moves in and out of your body, as it fills your lungs. And notice how you feel having just experienced the body prayer offered by Leah Morris, having just embodied light. Breathe in peace. Breathe out love. Breathe out love. Breathe in peace. and let these words of Anne Mason bring you ease. Spirit of life, your very presence among us is what gives us connection. Help us to sense that beneath our feet is the strength we need to help us feel grounded. Help us to feel that behind our back is the protection we need to feel safe facing our fears. Help us to know that before our eyes lies the beauty we seek to feel astounded. Help us to lift our heads high enough to be aware of the vastness of our sky and of our spirit, and help us to know that within our hearts lies the love we need to complete the circle of connection in our lives. We are grateful, Spirit of love, for this day. May we use all of these gifts, our feet, our backs, our eyes, our heads, and our hearts, to embody love into this hurting world, this world which we so value, which we so cherish. Amen. We are part of an interdependent web. We are a community that cares for one another, and part of how we embody this care is by making the time to share the joys and the sorrows that we each hold in our hearts. May we hold these joys and sorrows as well as the larger joys and sorrows unspoken here today, yet are in our hearts. May we hold them with compassion and with love. Amen, and blessed be.
This community offers its love and support, what is closest to our hearts. Another way we show our care for one another is in sharing our financial gifts with our community and our congregation. Each week, we invite everyone to the spiritual practice of generosity by giving to the ministry of our congregation. Through your pledges and with the weekly Sunday morning offering, together, we build the future of our congregation and our larger community. This is our shared ministry. From you we receive, and to you we give. During the music which follows, you may choose to make your Sunday morning offering by using the text address or going to our website. Here in the sanctuary, you may bring cash or checks forward. During this musical prayer of thanksgiving, you are invited to share not only financial gifts, but you are also invited to share the joys and sorrows in your hearts. Those on Zoom may put them in the chat box, and those of you at Rugby Road may come forward to place a stone in the water. The stone symbolizes what is in your heart, and the water represents the soothing embrace our caring community offers for your joys and sorrows. You may also leave us a note on the joy and sorrow paper provided here. Reverend Leah will light a candle now for all the joys and sorrows in our hearts this morning. Let us hold one another in a compassionate embrace. And let us dedicate all of the many gifts we share with one another by saying, we accept your gifts with gratitude. May we use them wisely for the highest good. You may come forward now with your gifts and your prayers.
Our reading this morning comes from the Unitarian Universalist 2022 meditation manual entitled Incantations for Rest by Atina O. Danner. In the book's preface, Ms. Danner writes, "I hoped to create some healing and joy for myself as a Black UU by writing some poems that I would have wanted to read during my experiences with Unitarian Universalism over the years. The joys and the sorrows of this faith life." Our reading is entitled Conspiracy. And then following the reading, I invite you to remain seated as another UU, Javon Haskin, leads us in the hymn Meditation on Breathing. Javon shares that Sarah Dan Jones's hymn, Meditation on Breathing, which is number 1009 in our Teal hymnal, was one of the very first UU hymns she ever heard. "It really ministered to my soul," she said, confirming that spiritual practice was in fact more than bowing my head to pray. The simplicity of its beautiful melody, the enchanting movement of the descant, and the lyrics, I can't tell you how many times this hymn has helped me find the light in the darkness of a multitude of challenging scenarios. But first, our reading, Conspiracy by Atina Danner. What if we tried to breathe together? Pull in, pull deep, release together. What would be born from a unified fulfillment of the bodily self and its undeniable need? What if we all tried to breathe together? A shared breath is a moment, refreshment, and a reminder of our more than oneness. And if we continue, if we slow and quicken a pace with each other, a murmuration of lungs becomes one organ singing. And if we continue, lean and learn into each other's rhythms over time, rising and falling like waves, we become a perfect thing, a conspiracy, dancing a dance of need and met need, request and offering, feeding each other. What if we decided to breathe together? What if we open the airwaves? What if we unblock, unbind, unfetter the hands that feed us? The earth, the air, the water that hold us and shape us as we were breathing together before we found ourselves existing, and so they will continue after we're gone. Imagine our final goodbye coming later than sooner. Imagine our final breaths in paradise. It's not too late to slow down, fall into the dance, catch the vibrating air, and release our lungs into song. Anything breathing cannot help but breathe, and breathing together is a choice we make.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Well, good morning again, friends. It's good to be here with you. And I am so glad that you are here. And I'm glad that Reverend Tim and his wife Carol are here with us too. And maybe, no, Carissa's not here. I did ask. I was hoping maybe Carissa would be here. She's been with us and she will be back again. But Reverend Tim and Carol, for anyone who hasn't yet met you, would you all please identify yourselves so that people can see and welcome you and perhaps find you after the service and say hello? We are so glad you both are with us here at UUCville. Our congregation's ministry theme for August, Embodiment, has actually been a great way for all of us to begin to get to know Reverend Tim. In his sermons this month, which if you missed any of them, you'll be able to watch them on our webpage as soon as they're uploaded, he has explored our monthly ministry theme beautifully. He shared his ideas of all of us together embodying ministry and the power of embodying radical welcome, which I hope, Tim and Carol, that you have felt radical welcome from us. We want to offer it. We want to offer this radical hospitality to everyone who walks through our doors. In last week's sermon, Reverend Tim emphasized the idea of each of us making the time to embody rest. He talked about the importance of taking intentional time to restore our souls. As summer draws to a close, if you have not yet been able to take some time for rest or for play, I hope that you will. Deep rest is something that we all need. And as Reverend Tim said so eloquently last week, it is only a rested heart and a nourished soul that can mend a broken world. So on that note, I offer gratitude for my recent 2-week study leave where I was able to take some time to read and to reflect and to renew and to rest. And I am delighted to share a little bit with you this morning about my time away. So I invite you, if you will, to embody curiosity as I do. And here's how I would like you to do this. At certain points in my sermon, I will indicate that I want you as a congregation to ask me the question, and then what happened? Such a good question to ask someone or to even ask yourself when you're wanting to hear more of the story. So let's practice. I'll indicate to you, and you'll say back to me, that's right, excellent. And those of you on Zoom, you can do this at home too. You can just ask it to the screen or you can type the question in the chat. So first, let's remind ourselves what we might mean by embodiment. I already offered several examples from Reverend Tim's sermons this month, embodying ministry together, embodying radical welcome and hospitality, and embodying rest. We've experienced embodiment in our worship together today with our singing and with Leah Morris's body prayer and our own time in meditation and reflection and prayer, in listening, in seeing and in hearing and in moving, Embodiment is about not just staying in the intellectual thinking parts of our existence, which is so easy and comfortable and safe for so many of us. Anybody who can relate to that? So many of us, that intellectual safe space. And yet, it is also so limited and so limiting. Embodiment is about being alive and engaged through our thinking minds and also our hearts and our spirits and our senses. Embodiment is about weaving together our mind and our body and our spirit. It's where our words come together with our actions. Embodiment is living into a quality or a way of being, such as embodying wisdom or embodying grace or embodying rest. And yes, there is also the embodiment of greed and hate and other less positive qualities. We all know that embodiment isn't all rainbows and unicorns. We have feelings about and we embody frustration, disappointment, fear, and pain, among many other things too. So while I was on study leave this month, I wanted to spend time continuing to reflect on the characteristics and qualities of embodiment, on the weaving together of the mind and the body and the spirit, and how it relates to the ministry theme we explored last month, which was presence. There's so much to think about within these ministry themes. I packed my suitcase, and Karen, my wife, packed her bicycle and her panniers, which is a fancy way of saying she packed her bags that hang over the rear wheels of her bicycle, and we headed north in our car. Karen for an 11-day bicycling trip through the Adirondacks, and me to an Airbnb on the New York-Vermont border with our 2 dogs, Maggie and Lucky, for some study leave. Oh, thanks for asking. Well, we arrived, and I got Karen launched with her trip leader and her bicycling cohort, and I proceeded to plan out my time. You know, I wanted to use it really wisely, to squeeze every drop out of it that I could. I didn't want to waste a minute. No, sir, I had a list. I had books, count 'em, books to read. I had planning for the upcoming church year to do, tasks to accomplish, writing, calendaring, not a moment to spare. Well, as many of you know, I grew up in Texas, and I've lived in hot and humid Virginia even longer than I lived in the heat of Texas. And honestly, I didn't even think to inquire at the Airbnb when I made reservations if they had air conditioning, because I just assumed they did, because everybody does, right? But you know what they say about making assumptions. And unfortunately, it seems we had brought the heat and humidity of Virginia with us to upstate New York, and it was, well, miserable, because the Airbnb did have a small window unit in the bedroom, but that was it. And the rest of the house was unair conditioned. So the dogs and I were so hot and so uncomfortable. It was 87 degrees inside the house. Well, I had to pivot. I had to let go of expectations. I had to realize that the list of what I wanted to accomplish during my leave had actually been unrealistic from the get-go, with air conditioning or not. In making my original plans, I hadn't really made time to reflect on what was in the reading and the studying that I was doing. So I had to stop. I had to pause. I had to embody flexibility. I had to offer the situation and myself grace. Fortunately, the hot weather didn't last more than a few days, and by the time the first cool evening rolled around, I was able to shift to a different way of being and create a more spacious plan. Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Have you ever traveled by yourself with dogs? Well, come to think of it, this was my first time. Now, I love our dogs, Maggie and Lucky, Many of you have met them before, and they sometimes come to church with me and are in my office during the week. They love coming to church. They love people. They don't like to be alone. And when Karen and I had planned this trip, I was all thumbs up about bringing the dogs and having them stay with me while Karen rode her bike. Sure, it'll be great. I'll read and reflect in the mornings after I take the dogs for a walk, and then in the afternoons, I'll go to museums or other thought-provoking places, and I'll leave the dogs all comfy at the Airbnb, no problem. And it would have been no problem, except that the owners of the Airbnb actually lived upstairs on the second and third floors of the house. And the house, as it turns out, was not on the quiet road that I'd imagined. And what dog doesn't feel the need to bark at large trucks that go by frequently? So on the first afternoon that I left the dogs at the house and I went into town, I asked the hosts when I returned, how had things gone? And it was clear that Maggie and Lucky had barked a lot. Well, I had to pivot. I had to let go of expectations. I had to realize that what I thought was going to be the way things were going to work wasn't the way things were going to work. So I had to pause, and I had to embody flexibility. I had to offer the situation and myself and Maggie and Lucky grace. Honestly, I was a little grumpy at first, and I offered myself compassion about that. The truth is that I valued having a meaningful time of study leave, and I valued being a good guest and taking care of Lucky and Maggie, who were in a new and an unfamiliar environment. So I had to come up with a new plan for study and rest and renewal, and I needed to address those other values too. So I worked through it, and I was able to shift to a different way and create a new, more dog-inclusive plan for my afternoons. Well, after I let go and I changed my mindset, it was good. There were just certain things that I couldn't do with the dogs in tow. But there were other things that I could do that I might not have done if they hadn't been with me. I let myself embody what was happening and not hold on to the disappointment and anger. I didn't say I didn't feel those things. I just didn't hold on to them. And I went on lots more hikes, and I was fortunate to spend time in Vermont's soul-nourishing beauty. One hike offered the perfect example of healing powers that can be found in embodiment. There's a place called the Mile Around Woods, and on a placard there, it tells the story of a man, Trenor Park, who grew up in North Bennington. In the 1850s, he went to California to work, and when he returned to Vermont, he was, by his own estimation, in poor mental health. The story goes that in 1865, he laid a path out through the woods, a mile around, and walked it daily, which he credited with helping his healing. So Maggie and Lucky and I walked the Mile Around Woods, and I could easily see how this lovely place would help anyone embody healing through restoration of body, mind, and spirit. Well, what happened is that I got into a daily rhythm that included reading and reflection and writing and studying and adventure. After my study times in the mornings, I made the commitment to take the dogs and myself on at least one adventure a day. An adventure that would be fun for all of us, full of beauty, and help me feel renewed. And sometimes this included pie. Mostly, it involved slowing down, paying attention to the beauty around me, and letting myself feel deeply. Some of you know that walking the labyrinth is one of my spiritual practices, and I'm so grateful that our congregation has 4 different labyrinths that are part of our labyrinth ministry. When I'm traveling, I always make a point to consult the online worldwide labyrinth locator so that I can visit labyrinths in other communities. For those of you who don't know, a labyrinth is different from a maze. It doesn't have any dead ends or false paths. It's unicursal, or one path that leads into the center, and then the same path leads you back out. It was lovely to hear Reverend Tim speak last week about the meandering way and how it helps him to slow down. This is how I experience the labyrinth. Its meandering path helps me remember to slow down. So imagine my surprise and my sense of peace and ease when I made my way to a sweet little park not far from where I was staying to visit this lovely, lovingly cared for labyrinth with a sign next to it saying, "Slow way down." It was just the message I needed to hear, the message I needed to remember, and the message I needed to embody. You're getting really good at that. Well, what happened next is I came home to you. I came home grateful to be here with you together and ready to engage on the next part of our journey together on life's meandering path, with the prayer that we will all be able to show up as our whole selves, our complete selves, our imperfect selves, our embodied selves in each moment, with all the messiness that it means to be human. As I reflect on my time away and what I want to share with you, I want to make sure you know and that you take in that we have all had to learn, especially in the past 2 years, how to pivot, how to let go of expectations. We've also had to realize that what we thought was going to work the way we thought it was going to work didn't necessarily work that way. So we've had to pause. We've had to embody flexibility. We've had to offer situations and each other and ourselves grace. And this is a spiritual practice. And the truth is that pausing and offering ourselves and each other grace is what we're going to have to keep doing in order to keep going on. In many ways, we've gotten better at it. We've gotten better at this flexibility, this practice in pivoting, but that doesn't mean that it's easier. So no matter what you are personally experiencing right now, a new routine with the start of school or car trouble or a health challenge for yourself or someone you care about, or the realities of trying to make things work with a budget that's just too tight, or maybe a change at your work, or maybe you're looking for paid employment, or you're really, really struggling with a relationship that's broken or needs repair, or you've had the death of someone you love, or you're just working with your own experience of the season as it begins to shift. Whatever you are experiencing, no matter how big or small, no matter the challenge or the joy, may we be here to offer support for each other. And may we embody for ourselves and one another the abiding love and grace that surrounds us and sustains us and helps us go forth in the world to shine our light and to do our part. May love be our guide. And then we sang our closing hymn. Kelsey, will you please come forward and lead us? And I invite everyone to rise now in body or spirit as you are willing and able for hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way.
As I offer our closing words by Sam Trumbore, I invite Greg to extinguish our chalice. Go forth in simplicity. Find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous in the forces of hate and hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people. Go in peace and love. Amen and blessed be.
As